Good morning and welcome to this week's Saturday session. As we move on to the story of the first Christmas night, I thought it'd be good to keep following the theme of Luke as the historian, making sure his sources are good, so he's gone back to first principles. So let's imagine that we're sitting in on Luke as he finds a couple of the shepherds from the first Christmas night and asks them about what actually happened, and then a second interview where he meets up with Mary and asks her about her things she remembered about Christmas night, that first Christmas night. So let's enjoy. So you're Jacob, one of the shepherds who was there that first night when Jesus was born. Yes, that's right. So Jacob, tell us, what was it like that first Christmas night? What happened? Well, so there we were out in the fields guarding the flock overnight. Then all of a sudden this terrifying person appears in a blaze of light. He must have been an angel. He said, "Don't panic, I have great news of incredible joy that's for everyone." And then he told us that a saviour, God's Messiah, had been born today in town. He told us what to look for: a baby wrapped up in cloths and lying in a feeding trough. Well, that shouldn't have been hard to find, but it doesn't sound like a great king's palace to me. Then there was this massive heavenly choir. It's pretty neat. When the concert was over, we decided we just had to go to Bethlehem to see it all. Well, we got there, and it was true. There had been a birth that day, born to that couple who'd come in recently from up north. Mary was the young girl's name, as I recollect, and her husband, Joseph. And it was just like the angel said. The baby was lying in a feeding trough and wrapped up in cloths. I couldn't believe it. Fancy God bothering with us shepherds. And when we told Mary about the angels and what they'd said, Mary was pretty thoughtful. So, Mary, I've been talking to Jacob, who was one of the shepherds who was around in Bethlehem when Jesus was born. He had some pretty interesting things to tell us. What's your recollection of what happened that night? Well, it was like this. I was pretty much to term, baby due any time now, really. And then Caesar goes and orders their census. That means we all have to go and register in our hometown. That's Bethlehem, 70 miles south as the crow flies, over hilly countryside, and much longer if we avoid going through country Samaria. Anyway, we had to do it, and hardly had we got to Bethlehem than I went into labour. And to make matters worse, we couldn't stay at the inn, they were full up. Well, Joseph's uncle was kind and put us up in the home. This is me speaking now, I made that bit up. But they had a bed and we slept on the floor, but we couldn't put our baby on the floor, it'd be much too dangerous. So we put Jesus in the feeding trough, but I wrapped him up carefully in cloths so he wouldn't kick and fall out or get his fingers nibbled by the family goat. Then evening comes and there's this commotion from a group of shepherds looking for our baby. Turns out they saw a vision of angels who said they were to look for a baby born today, lying in a manger and wrapped up in cloths. Well, that's certainly our Jesus. But then the shepherds said that they'd been told that our baby is the Saviour, Christ the Lord. That sounds extraordinary. But then it has all been quite amazing already, with the angel Gabriel appearing first to me and then to Joseph. I wonder... Well, hopefully you enjoyed that as a bit of fun, but also it's an interesting exercise to do. It's worth having a go. If you can get hold of a Bible, if you've got one to hand, or if you can get hold of one, read Luke chapter 2 and try it yourself. See what you think the shepherds might have said to Luke and what Mary might have said to Luke to help him write that account. I found I was having to stop and rethink a lot of stuff as I was going through that, because when you look at it, in that there's so much baggage that we bring into the Christmas story in one sense. It doesn't actually say anything about any donkeys or ox or ass standing by, or sheep, or other than in the field that being looked after by the shepherds. It doesn't say about being in a stable. It could have been a stable, it could have been a corner of someone's house as I imagined it. Could have been a cave, was an early thought in the early church. Apparently they thought it might have been a cave. There's so many things that we put into the story that aren't actually there, so we might not have it quite right, but have fun with it and see what you make of it, and most of all, have a happy Christmas.